never do anything around the house. I'm constantly cleaning up your mess. Can you please be quiet? I'm trying to watch TV. You never want to talk about anything that bothers me. Do you know what bothers me? Last week, I invited you to the movies, and you said yes, and then you canceled on me the last minute. What does that have to do with anything? Does this conversation sound familiar to you? Probably not the same exact one, but somewhere along the lines of going back and forth about things that don't apply to the situation right now, we've all been in it. Today, I want to share with you all the ways that you can change your relationships and these dreaded conversations for the better. Communication and equity in relationships are key components that are often taken for granted in relationships. But when fixing these problems, your relationships can excel. I've done quite a bit of research on relationships, and here are my citations. I use Psychology Today for a lot of it, and then some other research studies are in there. And I've actually implemented a lot of these things into my life, so I know firsthand how hard relationships can be. My relationships got much better when I have implemented these in my life. The first thing that I'm going to be talking to you guys about today is communication, and good communication and how to fix poor communication styles. Second, I'm going to be talking about equity and why equity is really important in a relationship. So communication. Communication is one of the most important things you can have in a relationship, and depending on your communication, your relationship may be going really well or really poorly. So what gets in the way of good communication? According to the researchers at the University of Delaware, there are three main things that get in the way of good communication. The first one being assuming what the other is thinking, which we are all guilty of this. A lot of times somebody may be telling you something that bothers them, and then you're kind of like, the only reason that they're bringing this up is because this last week, and it just kind of goes on and on. That's poor communication. The second thing is bringing up topics unrelated to the topic at hand. And that is just like the example that I gave in the beginning. And that is very bad. You shouldn't do that. Third, and lastly, you may assume you know what's right. And that's very common. Even people who are really open-minded do this. It's something that we need to fix if we want to have better communication. So how can we communicate more effectively? This is one that is said a lot, but it's very overlooked, and it's active listening. And we've all heard it, but we don't really know what it is, so I'm going to describe to you some ways that you can active listen a bit better. So eliminate distractions, and this is a big deal when somebody may be talking to you about something that you don't think is a big deal, but maybe to them it really is a big deal, so you're on your phone, and you're just swiping up, you're not really paying attention. That's very rude, and sometimes we don't realize that we're being rude. The second thing that we can do is listen for the content behind the message. And this is important because sometimes somebody may be telling you something that bothers them, but it's not the only thing that bothers them. There may be something else behind the message, so you definitely want to look for that. Next, you can paraphrase what they say. And this is not only important for the other person to hear what you think they're saying, but also for you, because it can clarify any mishaps, any miscommunication that's going on. And the last thing is don't give advice unless they ask. And this is one that I think a lot of people are guilty of, because we often think that if somebody's telling you something that bothers them, you might think, maybe I'll give them some advice, and you think you're being nice, but sometimes people just want to be listened to. How can we come up with win-win situations? And this is a big one, just because a lot of times it's somebody's always right and somebody's always wrong, and it doesn't have to be like that. There could be win-win situations. So my suggestion would be, if there's a problem in a relationship and you guys are talking about it, I suggest that you guys wait 5 to 10 minutes to talk again, come up with some solutions while you guys are waiting, and then come back together and come up with a situation that a solution that will work for both of you, so you both win. Not only is communication super important in a healthy and happy relationship, but also equity. So, equity in a relationship can ultimately be a deciding factor if your relationship lasts or fails. So, why is equity so important? And according to Psychology Today, people are more comfortable when they feel that they're getting what they deserve. And that's something that we all kind of see in relationships where somebody may be really, they have really poor self-esteem, they're with somebody who's mean to them. And if you have really high self-esteem, a lot of times you'll have somebody who's catering to your every need. So if people feel they're getting too much in a relationship, they might feel really shameful and guilty. But if people are getting too little, they feel anger or resentment. So I suggest that everybody looks at their relationship objectively and they see if they feel like they have an equitable relationship. And by this I don't mean equality, because equality would be like, okay, you cook 50% of dinner, you cook 50% of dinner. No, I mean like equity, everybody's putting in a part that feels equal and balanced to you. So an example would be like back in the day when men would go out and work and women would stay home and clean. It still happens today as well, but in that situation, it's equitable because it's balanced. Housework is a lot of work, so is having a job. And I don't suggest that you guys just decide to do this, but I suggest that you find something similar to this balance. Now, if you evaluate your relationship and you feel like it's balanced, congratulations, you don't have to do anything. If you don't, it's time to fix things up and have a talk. So I hope these little tips and tricks can help you have better relationships in life. Today I talked about how communication and equity are really important in healthy and happy relationships and how to use them effectively. And I invite you all to implement these tips and tricks into your life and everyday conversations and see how your relationships excel in life. I wish you all the best relationships with your friends, family, coworkers,